In this episode, we'll be covering the raging at the addiction therapeutic technique.
But first, what you can expect as far as solutions go this season.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to season 4 of our YouTube channel and our podcast. This time, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. First, who are we? If you don't know who we are Jay and Lori Pyatt. We are certified mentors. I am trauma trained, and I follow the betrayal trauma model with my clients. And we work with clients all over the world.
I've got almost 12 years clean at this point and learned how to rebuild trust.
We have a successful mentoring business where people say our tools that we found along the way are really effective in getting them further than they've been able to get thus far. This time, we're going to be interviewing somebody for the first time. That somebody is Matthew Frey from Must Be This Tall to Ride and MatthewFrey.com. And he's also the author of a new book called This Is How Your Marriage Ends. And we'll be talking with him about that book.
Matt's also our friend, and we've been meeting with him pretty regularly. And we thought we would record some of these videos for this season. Matt wanted to cover general marriage issues that he sees with his clients. And we will cover addiction, betrayal trauma, stuff that we see with our own clients.
We'll also be covering divorce and separation, not just how to avoid it, but also the little things that can lead up to it. And we'll also cover how it can impact men, emotional affairs and physical affairs, defensiveness, intimidation. We're also going to be spending a lot of time on validation. Some time we'll be spending on empathy. And something I think fairly new that we're going to be covering is video games and other distractions and how they can impact marriage. And we'll also be covering the brain science behind a few of those things. And a new thing we're going to be doing this season is we'll be pointing out some solutions that you can start using in your relationships as well. And these will be pointed out in the video descriptions. It'll actually say like one solution or solution. So you'll be able to click on those and jump to that part of the video.
So we want you to know this season is not only for couples, but for our married couples. You're going to get some practical advice to help you strengthen your marriage. You're also going to receive some ideas on how to avoid divorce or even affairs. And you'll also really hear new ways to talk about what's lacking in your marriage and places where you're feeling that something's off without really knowing what that is.
And if you're single or separated, then this season can help you know you're not crazy. You're not demanding. There are little things that can break up a marriage, legitimate things that can break up a marriage, even when betrayal isn't an issue. So hopefully you'll go away from this season knowing, okay, I wasn't being too demanding, because that can be something that's put on us. And another thing you might come away from it knowing is other clues as to where your partner might have been off base in other ways. Again, further legitimizing the fact that you're not crazy. Like there are certain attitudes that a guy can have that can break down relationships.
And if you're married or single, you'll find things to look out for in any relationship that feels unsafe, even non-romantic relationships. As we've said, we're going to be sharing really practical solutions for your relationship, and we're going to get that done in about 10 minutes a week. At this point, we've recorded 4 different sessions with Matt, which we've cut up into about 24 separate smaller sections. They will be shorter versus the 20 minutes or so that we were doing in previous seasons. We've kept the information very easy to find. If you scroll down into the description, you can click on that timestamp and it will take you right to where you want to go in the video. Also, there's an S on the end of the video name, so that if you are someone who's experienced trauma in the past, this you'll know is safe for people who have experienced trauma.
And for all of them so far that we finalized, all of them have been safe.
But if you're betrayed, definitely go at your own speed. This can take some time. So be gentle with yourself as you go through this. One of the things that we wanted to do, like Lori said, is share some practical solutions that we typically share with our clients. Our success rate's been over 75%. It appears these solutions do work.
Also, Matt will be sharing some of the things he shares with his own clients. But if you just don't want these emails coming to you, then there's a way to either opt out of them or unsubscribe altogether. If you don't want these sent to you, but you want to remain on our email list, then click on the Update My Preferences button down at the bottom of this email and click 1 to 2 times a quarter, and then you will not be sent these every week. If you're not an email subscriber but do want to be notified of these every week, then hit the subscribe button. And then I think off to the left of the YouTube screen, I think it might be hidden under like 3 bars or something. But then you will see under your subscriptions anything new that we've posted. Or you can subscribe to the email list at thecouplecure.com.
Hey, everybody, just a disclaimer. Just like us, Matt works with men who have harmed their marriages. So while your situation could be the reverse, we'll be using the language that reflects the type of clients and instances that we deal with.
Mm-hmm.
There'll also be a lighter vibe this season. Compared to our previous season, there'll be a lot more laughter because we're meeting with a friend as opposed to trying to extract information from a guest that we've never met. You know, it's somebody that we know.
Yeah. Also, expect some light cussing on this one, not just in the videos. It's pretty rare, probably stuff you'd see on normal TV. Also in the book, if you're interested in the book, just understand that there's some cussing in the book as well. One thing I do want to make clear, you should not be triggered by these episodes. One thing to keep in mind, though, is Matt deals with what he calls non-major marriage crimes, meaning he deals with things that you would see in an everyday marriage, not things that are major injuries to marriage. So as you go forward, if something strikes you, especially if you've been betrayed, if something strikes you like, oh, that doesn't sit right with me, feel free to leave that behind. And you'll see him a few times throughout the season go like, that's not my realm. You know, I'm talking to the people that don't have these major breakdowns going on in their marriage. You'll hear him say, literally, he's unqualified to speak to certain issues. If you're betrayed and you're new to the issue of betrayal trauma, then check out some of our previous seasons where we cover that pretty much in depth. Mm-hmm. If you don't know who we are, check out season 1, episode 3, 7, 10, and 11. You'll get a long history of who we are.
Check out season 1 on the podcast Coffee with the Couple Cure, because we do not have those on YouTube. Mm-hmm. But if you watch the last couple of seasons, you'll get a feel for who we are anyway.
Yeah. And before we get to that, because the first video will be released next week, we wanted to give you something that's just us. And this is going out to a woman. I don't like to give out initials, but she's got a B and a K in her name somewhere in her first or last name. So this is going out to you and you know who you are. But it has to do with what we call the charred outline on the wall. And this is something Jay brought up somewhere in our healing, and it's just kind of been confirmed over the years for us. And overall, what this is basically blasting him with the truth of what his actions, how they've impacted you. Now, all men won't want to do this. Not every man can, but what we've seen in our own work, what we've seen in our own marriage, and even what they're starting to say in like trauma healing groups or betrayal, especially betrayal groups, what they're saying is it can lead to healing more quickly.
Before we start to describe what the chart outline on the wall is, please do not do this with men who have trauma in their past that they have not dealt with. If they haven't worked through it, this process can trigger them, and it will get a much stronger response than you were really hoping for.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say, do this if you can with a betrayal trauma trained therapist. In many situations, I think it should be done in a clinical setting, so at a therapist's office, and definitely do it with somebody who understands the purpose of it. During a recent group call, a member shared with a group how her husband would either grumble or kind of look hurt after she shared her pain with him. And what she said was, I wish he could stand up in those moments. I wish he could withstand the truth. And so I told her this. I told her during our healing years, even before I had heard experts say it can be a good idea if it'll work for everybody in the relationship. But I told her that I was trying to give Jay a word picture of like, I just wish I could scream at you sometimes. And he said, you mean like leave a charred outline on the wall of me? And I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, imagine if you're just breathing fire and just screaming at, at the things I've done. And all you see of me is a charred outline. Over the years, this has grown in my own thinking about it. And what I said that night in group to the member was, I explained the charred outline on the wall. You want to see him standing, but you don't want the charred outline to look like this. You want him to stand up in strength, not in a fight, but in like, I did this. Let me hear all of it. I can stand up underneath this. That's the kind of outline you want to see. You don't want to see this, like, let's fight. And you also don't want to see him like curled up in a fetal position as well. And what the experts call it is raging at the addiction. And what they'll say is, even if a woman's working on her own, what they'll say is just rage, rage for a couple sessions. And I do want to point out, this is a very short season because rage can become an addiction. The image I get in my head is a man standing saying, I can take this. I brought this on myself. I need to let her have her moment. And then when she's exhausted, I would love him to care for her and to say, I heard you. I'm so sorry. And what do you need right now? Care for her, however that looks like. Some women would appreciate a hug. Some women do not want to be touched in that moment. So it would definitely go according to her speed, but it's like at the end of all that rage and anger is hurt. And I'm hoping he can be for her in that as well. It's a short season where you specifically let it all out when it comes to screaming at the actions taken, screaming at the addiction, screaming at the effect, not screaming at the person. We aren't name calling. We aren't defaming his character. These are not cheap shots. It's screaming at the actions, the addiction, and the impact.
And the guy hasn't tried to shut it down, right? So that's important, guys. You can't shut it down. You've got to let her get it out. And so anything being defensive or trying to clarify or running away, all of that shuts her back down.
Again, like we said, this should be a very short season of blasting him. Going longer than that is proof that it's not working and something else needs to be tried.
And guys, you need to know, if you think that somehow you get to blast her later on, that's not how this works. It's only going to make things worse.
Yes, this is not reciprocal. It's not like, okay, I'm going to, hear your pain first, and then I'm just going to blast you later. If that's your approach to this, then this would not be a good tool for you to use. And all this works because if he's really open to it, she will feel heard. She will feel understood. She can't really heal fully within the relationship. If she goes on her own, she can heal. She's not even in the place in her own brain of being able to heal fully until she feels heard. But if she blasts him and she's heard and understood, and she gets, you understand how much this hurt me, right? I hope that's motivation to really work on your recovery. If she gets that he gets it and he hears her and it's new motivation for him to not act out, then she can heal more quickly. But also there's a certain dynamic that we've seen in our own work with guys. I saw this with Jay as well.
Many men feel relieved afterward. They know, at least most of them do, by the time they're working with us, they realize they've done something. And when she finally lets all of that loose, he's no longer living under this umbrella of, when is she really going to let me have it? And so there's kind of this anxiety that I talk to guys about, of she says we need to talk, and they're they get all flooded.
I think it's because they're expecting something big. It's
Yeah.
like if you smack somebody in the back of the head and that person lives with you, you're going to be kind of feeling like, should I be looking behind me? Are they going to smack me back?
Yeah. And so for the guy, it allows him to finally say, okay,
Mhm.
she's really unleashed and she's kind of gotten to her pain. You're getting past something and now you can
Mhm.
move on to the next thing.
Mhm. If that sounds unhealthy, again, the experts say that it can really help. Again, don't do this if the guy hasn't recovered from certain traumas in his past.
Again, not all guys are willing to like sit in this place, especially without some help. I run deep dive groups to help guys do this. I also do one-on-one to help guys do this. But if you can really sit in hearing what your impact has been, you can change your relationship.
Mhm.
Thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode where we'll discuss how marriages end.
Bye.
Bye.